Wheels up. Welcome to the Catalyst Podcast. We are going to end this transformation series with a couple great guests that I've had the privilege to get to meet and know recently. I have Lou Everett and Sherri McManus on. And before I turn the floor over to them, I just wanted to give a quick introduction and perspective as you listen to this conversation, knowing who they are. Lou and Sherri of the Lou Everett Group are known for their highly effective coaching, teaching, and speaking on the importance of personal growth and really how it impacts influence in a leadership capacity. With actually more than 4 decades of combined experience in training and coaching and leadership, they've also received training and mentoring from some very well-known and successful coaches to the likes of Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Tracy, John Maxwell, Jack Canfield, Paul Martinelli, and they are certified leadership coaches and corporate trainers. So I thought that was kind of important to introduce as we get going. If you will just, lean into Lou and Sherri, and I will turn it over to you guys for, just a kind of brief introduction to get us going. Thank you for being here.
Oh, no. Thank you, Hunter, for having us, and listeners for listening in. No, we're excited to be here.
Yeah, so excited. Yeah. It's so great to be with you again, Hunter.
So awesome. to kind of give an intro about us, did you want to tell them what we do? You're good at that.
Well, he did a fantastic job.
He did. But that's what you explained is exactly that, right? We are business and executive leadership coaches and corporate trainers, and we do focus on development. And as a leader, it always starts with the self, right? Self-development first, that personal development, because you can only give the level of your own growth, right? And so that is our focus. Our focus is on that leadership development, which focuses on effective communication for small businesses. We also provide, what's good about what we do is with our methods, we provide strategic ways that help build leaders from within. And then it helps to prevent toxic work cultures and provides the ability for leaders to understand the value of the people that they lead and what their position and what they do really holds. And we also add in corporate training, things like diversity and inclusion and things like that. So we're really happy to be here and can't wait to get into the crux of the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what a great kind of launch point for this would be to understand, at a high level, we don't have to get too detailed, just understanding y'all's journey. And then, we can build up to present day. And really, as you talk through that, if you will, just mention, how transformation has maybe played into that and kind of, I guess, influenced, different maybe pivot points or significant inflection points in your journey.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I think we all have a journey, right? We all have a story, and I'm going to let you take over this one for a second. But I think that it's important that everyone understands that we all do have a path and a journey to get where we are and where we're going to be, and that comes with failure, that comes with challenges, that comes with hurdles. And anyone that you've ever heard that says that they're a overnight success, or they're a man-made millionaire or self-made millionaire, whatever you want to call it, it's hogwash. That's what that is, because it takes people and it takes a lot of failure to do that. But just wanted to throw that in there before Sherri kind of starts that conversation off, because we've got a lot of failures, but we're not going to go into that too deep. But we have a pretty good journey, though.
Stay surface level.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, really the journey that started out with me, I like to share a story that, my mom shares with me and anybody that will want to listen, is that when I was, really young, I mean, gosh, I'd been like 6 or so. And we had neighborhood kids that we would go out and play, and she would look outside, and here I was the littlest one out of all of them. And I was telling them what to do and what games we were going to be playing. And this was the structure, so here I was, telling them what to do. So, early on, I had that influence as I know now. And along the way, I have misused that, but have grown into, oh, wait, I can use this as in a positive way, not as a forcing or that positional style leadership. With that. But then fast forward, really the crux with me really started with the transformation in particular, when you're kind of fast forwarding this, was an incident that it happened to me in August of 2018. Actually, pretty soon will be the anniversary of that coming up, but I was actually in the hospital in the ICU in the burn center for 10 days with a rare disease, and we weren't sure if I was going to live or die. It started out as a simple cold, and it just kept progressing, and it really was something that occurred that, again, anybody can get this, but it was a disease where my body was actually revolting. It was just kind of enough. It was so worn down that that my body was burning from the inside out. Wow. And leading up to that, was working in a work environment that was very high stressful, very crash and burn type of, turn into a toxic work environment. And I take full accountability of working as hard, because we all are those rock stars that want to do well, but the expectations of working 70 plus hours a week just to kind of maintain your job, and also the verbal abuse, that's unacceptable. And unfortunately, leadership at that time was more focused on the bottom line than they were valuing their employees anymore. And it slowly eroded to that point. It wasn't just all of a sudden, it was a slow progression. So after that experience, that was a newfound purpose for us to really take our skills, take our knowledge and expertise, and to make a difference. And we've been both in backgrounds with our own stories that we've been a trial by fire, being that rock star, putting in a new position, and then saying, okay, good luck, see ya. And then 6 months later, we see folks or even ourselves get fired 6 months later because we didn't meet our metrics. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, you gave me a bow, but not an arrow. Hold on.
Yeah.
So
almost set up to fail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we want to be a part of that, in that space, to help. And there's many other people that are, but we love that specifically because of our experience and what we went through to prevent that. So that, in a nutshell, is kind of my transformation, because it really helped me really dig in a little bit deeper to personal development and growth, and to really build myself up as a better leader, and to use my influences for the greater good. So that was my transformation.
Mind you, we had been in business. We started our first business in 2005. And so it was after that situation that just, you don't need that corporate level life anymore. Come and let's bring you into the company that we've started here full time. And let's really make this our focus and our mission, because that situation proved to us that what we're preaching is not moot. It is something that's real. And so that is kind of one of our adult transformation moments in our business, where we realize that we are doing what is right. We are doing what we're doing. People need it. And it just really solidified our purpose and what it is that we do. So I'll leave that one as it is.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So there's a couple of things as y'all were talking, and I want to be careful not to go down too much of a rabbit hole. But one of the first things you mentioned, Sherri, that was interesting to me was you were an assertive child, and maybe a little bit. I don't want to use the word bossy, but just you kind of knew
it was bossy. She was bossy.
So, and it's interesting now that I have a daughter that sounds like, I would characterize her very, actually, I think that was on her most recent end of the school year report. I can't remember the word the teacher used, but it was basically like she's trying to help others, where generally the teacher would be kind of directing there. But it's interesting to me as I think about that in this debate. I kind of go through with and this doesn't necessarily just apply. I think this is a leadership topic and kind of a broad principle. But do you want to have, and maybe you want to blend of both. So I'm not saying I have the answer here, but it's an interesting debate to me. Do you want to have contributors, team players that you almost have to like kind of rein in and direct, or the reverse of that is having to kind of like micromanage and prod along, and I think it's an interesting debate. It's just something, as you said it, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
That's a tough.
And there is a balance because, you're as a leader, you're going to have different sorts of people. But I just remember though, you brought them in, they were hired for a purpose. There's something about them that we found value in. That is, of course, if your hiring process looks at it that way. And so those people that are there have value. So now as a leader, it's up to you to say, okay, you're going to have people with different modes and methods of how we can direct or coach, right? And really, ultimately, that's what it comes down to. As a leader, it's our responsibility to coach them along the way and identify who there might make a good leader to succeed when we're not there, right? When we move on, and identifying who those people are, and using them in a capacity that's going to benefit the team or benefit the department. And of course, that entails a lot of things. But as a leader, you're going to encompass that a lot. You're going to have people that you have to micromanage because it's necessary. But the whole goal is to get out of that. Right. I shouldn't have to. But again, micromanaging almost comes across as a negative, which it can be used. It's almost like a weapon that some leaders use because that's the only way they know how to manage.
Right. Well, they abuse it. And unfortunately, it has been abused so badly that has caused physical and mental anguish because of it. So it's like, where's that line, right? And that is such it's really not tricky if you really look at it and you're being intentional and the awareness. There's organizations that we have worked with that it's just, I call it lazy leadership, because if you're getting, the pressure from your superior, and then we just, the classic, well, with everything's going to roll downhill, right? And then everybody gets their butt chewed out. Well, hell, time out. Wait a minute. Are you just doing it because because you got hurt from it, and now you're going to pass it on to everybody else? We have to be intentional about that. I'm not saying it's easy. Trust me, I got caught in that too. So I'm just like, you get so angry or whatever happened. But it's just now knowing what we know now and through our process and transformation that it's like, okay, wait a minute, time out. Let's see what we can do to control that a little better. Yeah,
if you want results, you're going to use your influence in a way that's going to bring results. Okay, and that influence can be negative or positive, but strong leadership is a positive influence. It's a positive method in a positive way, and that's what leadership is. It's all about influence. That's really all it is, and how we utilize that. And most leaders, if they're micromanaging all the time, it's because that's the only way that they know how to manage. Right. So as a leader, do you want to manage, or do you want to lead, or do you want to direct, or do you want to dictate? I mean, there's all the different choices you have. Right. But the reality of it is, the question comes down to this: do you want those that you lead? Do you want them to want to come into work for you, or do you want them to come into work because they have to? Right. Now, we all work because we have to, because we got to pay bills. But you get where I'm going here, right? If you ever had a role where you're like, I just love going and working for this person and being on that same team and having the same values and mission. If you have those two choices, you can get people that come into work, they dread it, but they come because they have to. They're only going to do what they have to do. Now, imagine if you can influence them in a way that they want to come in and they want to follow you. They're going to do more. They're going to the team and the department's going to be successful, and they're going to do more than are expected. And those are the people you want on your team. So it's all dependent upon how you actually lead them, right? Based on your influence. So the choices is there, but you as a leader are responsible to learn those leadership styles in order to be successful. Yeah. I love that. I think it's relevant too, as y'all were describing kind of some of the buildup of the career and where you are now. I think the way Sherri put it was it kind of built up over time, that toxic environment, kind of escalated over time. And I think the same would be true for correcting that, right? It's not something that's instantaneous, and any kind of, whether it's a correction or just an improvement, any kind of development, is something where you got to sow seeds and be patient, be thoughtful, all that fun stuff. So I thought that was super relevant. Yeah, for sure. Right. No, it does take time. It's a classic case where, for owners or organizations, that they send their employees to a wonderful conference or webinar just so they can learn new skills, which is great.
but then have this crazy expectation of like, okay, you're all trained, and they magically will be these A players and all of a sudden. And that's
you could turn one team into an amazing team in one event.
Right. And that's not realistic. It's just not. And that's why we're huge proponents on continuity plans and to keep it going, because just as much as there's bad habits, well, now we got to turn that around to make some good habits, and it takes so long to get that. And unfortunately, we live in such a instant world of instant gratification and instant popcorn and instant this and that well, it takes time. It just unfortunately does. And there's the rub, there's leaders out there or that just do not have that patience. And we're like, yeah, that's great. But they just want the numbers that, at the end of the day, and we get that. However, there's a way as a progression that will, in the long game, not the short game, you'll actually gain more. And by even on the bottom line through your team, retention, and saving money at the end of the day.
Yeah, the bottom line doesn't change. No, and as a leader, you're responsible for the bottom line. Okay. I mean, but you're also responsible on how you relay that bottom line responsibility to those that you lead. Okay. Why would you relay that to them the same way that if the one that you're answering to is coming down on you and they're hitting the hammer down, your team isn't doing this, and okay, that's their style. That doesn't mean that you have to relay it the same way to those that you lead, because that's your responsibility. You assume that responsibility as a leader. So by assuming that responsibility as a leader, it's frankly a burden really sometimes, because you've got to learn how to get the same results without necessarily making people feel as if they're a number, right? It's not a conveyor belt. It really isn't. If you approach it that way, look at any of the successful companies in this world. They put a lot of focus on their employee nurturing. Right? Their culture. They put a lot of focus on that. And there's a reason. You want to keep people, create a good culture. That's just the way it works. But to learn, it's a learned process. It's not something that happens overnight. As a leader, you've got to learn throughout the years. Sherri and I have, like you said, over 4 decades of experience combined. And in my 25, 26 years of experience, my goodness, if I had to learn and grow and change over the years. Well, at one point, I thought leadership was all about me. Position is all about me. Years later, you realize.
And the corner office, right?
And the corner office,
and the corner office.
Which I had all of.
Right.
But then you realize, then you get to the point where you realize it's not about me at all. It's about them. It's all about them. Because as a leader, that's the responsibility you have, is to hit the mission, hit the value with the core values of the company you work in, but hit that mission, hit those numbers in a way that the people that you serve want to do it, because you value them and they know you value them.